And welcome back to an episode of Geek Centurions. Me, your boy Eli.
It's me, Joe.
And we're here to talk about some of the more. Well, actually, okay, so let me clarify. We are not that much into drama. We are not.
Yeah.
But there was an interesting video that came out about a week or two ago that caused a bit of a stir.
Discourse, if you will.
A discourse among the anime community. And, we like talk about a lot of stuff from gaming, comics, movies, TV shows, anime as well. Though I feel like we haven't talked much about anime specifically because it's kind of hard to narrow it down.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could have done like a review of the new Demon Slayer movie, Infinite Castle, right? Infinity Castle?
That is the name of the movie.
We could have done that. Instead, we're doing this. So,
It should be pointed out that the reason we didn't do that is, one, I totally forgot about it.
Yeah, although it is doing some numbers.
It is doing a lot of good numbers.
Which I feel, either way, I think it will be a nice little
segue into what we're talking.
into what we're talking about.
Yeah, because also because I like Demon Slayer, but I'm not that big of a fan of it. I'm like not in a rush to go watch it. Neither are you. I know that for a fact. But this discourse among this one video has caused a lot of people to talk about what is considered to be a quote unquote anime tourist, and sort of like more or less kind of like what is considered like a tourist among fandoms themselves, right? So because we tend to see that a lot in the rise of popularity of certain fandoms, whether it be like Marvel, DC, the comic movies, but also like I feel like especially now with anime.
Yeah, because I mean, we talked a little bit about this before, but like we have seen a growing trend of anime like pushing into the mainstream. I mean, like I said earlier, right? The new Demon Slayer movie doing numbers at the box office, which is surprising a lot of people because at the end of the day it's anime, and I feel like the only time I think anime movies ever do big numbers, it's like when it's like a really big name, like Dragon Ball movies,
Dragon
right?
Ball movie, but it's mostly always been the Miyazaki films.
And yeah, Miyazaki, because household name and that stuff.
Yeah,
right?
because I feel like whenever people say this isn't a touristy comment or anything, but I feel like this is someone who's very casual when they say like they like anime. They're like, I like Miyazaki, and that's fair. But like, not all Ghibli movies are Miyazaki. Just like not all Miyazaki movies can be Ghibli movies. Or I actually, is that right? I need to check his catalog to see if I'm correct in that statement.
I mean,
but you know where I'm going with.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's like saying like all of Christopher Nolan films are Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I guess. Listen. All I know is what you're trying to say is that like Studio Ghibli isn't the only anime out there, right?
Yeah, or isn't the only studio out there? Because you got like Madhouse, Sunrise, Mappa, UFO Table.
Yeah.
What's the one that made Grand Blue Fantasy? Because they have an anime studio now.
I mean, Cygames is what owns Grand Blue, but I don't necessarily think they have their own anime studio.
They're the ones that made the Musume anime.
Do they have it? Is it?
Well, we'll talk about this later.
Listen, I will look it up myself.
But the main thing is like the conversation of like what is considered an anime tourist. Where do we draw the line? And also like the idea of gatekeeping. That's kind of what I want to talk about too, because like I do think that any fandom should be open to new people coming in, whether it be more of a casual or like I want to get really into this this thing, and when how do we approach that, and can we like tell who's more genuine in their interests, right? Because I feel like oftentimes you'll have people who are like doing it just to get the attention, right? Like it's the most popular thing now. I want to be cool. I want to know stuff. I want to be part of this trend, and whenever the trend dies, they'll just like leave. Oh yeah, that was a thing. I was like, But for some of us, it's like, no, it's not a thing. that is part of who we are.
Yeah.
If I'm making any sense.
Yeah, no, it happens sometimes when it comes to a lot of things probably popular. Because I mean, I guess to make the example, like, I mean, you could say that about people who like necessarily like the Marvel stuff, but they've only ever seen the MCU, which fair enough,
Or
right?
the DC stuff.
Yeah, like I guess if you're into like the previous like DCEU or whatever, like this, not to call the Snyder fans or whatever like tourists or whatever, but there
No,
is there
so some of them are genuinely like want to see that kind of interpretation of Superman.
yeah, or just the
or
DC universe
yeah,
in general, right?
yeah.
But there are people that only really liked Superman when Man of Steel was out. Like, oh yeah, that's awesome. That was a cool movie or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But then they don't get into Superman the character or like his comics after that. It's just like that's what I want Superman to be.
Yeah, that's my entryway. That's the only thing I've you know
Yeah.
like oh yeah, I like Superman. Only seen Man of Steel or the 1970s Superman, and that's not a flag to them. That's not a flag because like some people they'll engage with the thing only to like a surface level and not go further in. Like right because like I don't expect anyone who's played the Warhammer game that came out.
Warhammer 40K, the Space Marine one.
Yeah, yeah. And be
Yeah.
like super into Warhammer, where they start reading some of the like novels and stuff like that.
Or get into like the actual like
Tabletop.
tabletop.
Yeah, exactly. So like some of the stuff again, some of the stuff I understand, but the main point is that a lot of people have been kind of upset and have been calling people out on this whole like tourist stuff. Like that's kind of the main issue that a lot of people had with that certain videos because
Have you
oh
actually named the video itself?
have we no we haven't named the video but I know it's made by a group of guys called the Anime Men.
Not to be confused with the Anime Man.
No, not Joey from Trash Taste.
Which is, I mean, that's pretty funny.
No, yeah. But like a lot of their takes were very normy, or even more touristy, because they clearly had no appreciation for what is old school anime. For a lot of people, especially who grew up on anime, they didn't have a very appreciation for the old stuff, right? And I'm not saying they were wrong in some of their assessments of older anime, but I also kind of like I get it, right? Because I always remember how you were telling me how when you were in film school, how oftentimes you were asked to watch movies that came from a certain period where they didn't talk, or they didn't have any color, or they had to make do with what they had, basically.
Yeah.
And not to say you didn't like those movies, because you did like some of those movies, but there was some like, okay, this is from the 1940s, no talkies, so that everything is like.
Well, no, by the 1940s they had sound in movies, but yeah, you can keep going.
Yeah, yeah. But to my point is like, whenever they do these kind of things, you always have to come in with the mindset of like, this was new,
Mm.
right? Like, was okay. Remind me, the Wizard of Oz was the first Technicolor movie, right?
I want to say yes. Obviously that was sort of the big thing about it. Like it started out in like sepia tone colors, right?
Mhm.
And then once Dorothy gets it to the land of Oz, that's where all the color comes in, and it's like big crazy thing. I'm pretty sure there's been experimentations with color before, but obviously, yeah.
Which like for us nowadays, that's like nothing new.
Yeah, but like I would argue that the Wizard of Oz, the movie itself, is still widely liked, not because of the color thing. It's certainly revolutionary because of the color thing, but it's still a good film on its own.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like, but that's kind of like one of the main criticisms I would say the core criticism they had for this kind of controversy is like that, and it's a very common like assessment with a lot of the newer people who are getting into anime. A lot of what I feel like people from our generation will be starting to call tourists is that there is no appreciation for the old stuff. And I get it because like some of that old stuff is kind of hard to watch because you're so used to the new, and you start off with the new.
Uh-huh.
Like you're Demon Slayer. The joke with Demon Slayer is that it's more it's carried by the animation, right?
Yeah.
Which is like okay, kind of true, but I would also say not 100% true, right? Because there's still like a very good story.
Yeah, it has compelling enough characters. I mean, I wouldn't call myself the biggest fan of Demon Slayer, but I still like see the relationship that Tanjiro has with his sister Nezuko is obviously great. Like the bond of those two characters works. I mean, like so well. It's like probably for me one of the highlights of the show itself, just how much of a strong bond they have, and how much Tanjiro wants to like help his sister out and stuff. Like, yeah, the animation. There are several points, especially in like fight scenes or whatever, where it's like, oh yeah, this looks visually astounding, but it's like you said, like some people that's enough. Like, oh my god, this is best anime ever, whatever. Which fine by me, but like at the end of the day, for me, it's like what makes good anime and just in general what makes good storytelling is just the characters and the story itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of always been when it comes to looking at say older anime where the animation quality isn't as high, right? Like say if you were to watch friggin' Astro Boy or pretty much anything from like the 60s to the 70s, like hell even like OG Gundam, which I mean if you're not watching the movies and watching the straight TV anime, kind of has a little weird stuff, right?
A lot of off model art.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, it still has compelling characters and a compelling story.
Yeah, because we haven't gotten to the point where the animation has reached to what people want it to be, right?
Yeah.
Because like you gotta look at like anime as not this sort of over the top actiony things that I feel like a lot of people who are not that much into anime but just know anime as that. You kind of have to look at it as like okay, but you also think about it like in the history of animation, right? Like you're not gonna compare like Snow White or something to whatever modern animated film that came out this year, say K-pop Demon Hunters, right? They're two vastly different things. They're both animation, yes, but they're both trying to tell two different things. They're both uh
You're trying. Well, I guess what you're going at here is that you're not trying to like these people are trying to like put because it's new it's automatically better,
yes, yes, which is I feel like
right?
is a lot of
It's a lot of not I wouldn't say misguided, well a little misguided, but also at the same time it's kind of one of those like things of this is gonna be an interesting analogy I have in my brain right now, but it's like trying to buy the latest new car and automatically think it's the best when you can just buy like a Toyota Corolla 2020 or whatever that's still pretty good,
mm-hmm,
or even like fixing up an old car, like and it still runs pretty well. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
sure, it doesn't have a lot of the modern innovations of like an aux jack for your phone or like CarPlay or all that stuff, but she runs pretty well. She gets you where you need to go, and that's all you need sometimes.
That is all you need, and it's like that's kind of how I feel like with a lot of these people who are just now getting into anime, because like for them this is sort of what is anime, but when you go back to the history of like a lot of this stuff, it's like no, it's there's a reason why this is like a well-known property. It's because it set off what would eventually be what we come to know as anime as. Hence why I was like, you know, Snow White. It's like one of the first Disney movies, and you see how the evolution of animation through that. If you want to specifically stay with Disney, I would say, you know,
Yeah.
just because for me it's just hey, there's more to anime than just that. Like you can go back to the old stuff and see where a lot of the stuff that you love today came from, right? So like for me personally, I've been starting to watch a lot more older mech anime, because I feel like I can't call myself a mech fan if I just only watched one, iteration plus a couple stuff, right? So like, but having watched a lot more older stuff, I'm like, oh, so this is like, I can see the inspirations from each one. I can see how they all kind of like, borrow some elements from each other. Like if you want to use an example, like Evangelion is, this very, thought-provoking story involving people with trauma, also giant robots. Shinji going through his issues with his father, his mother, trying to discover who he is. And then you go watch, like, say, something like Space Runaway Ideon, where it's very much like you can see, like, oh, this is where Hideki Anno got his ideas for stuff. And then there's also this stuff and this stuff. So, like, appreciating the old allows you to appreciate the new even more, kind of thing. That's kind of where I'm always been coming from with it.
Right.
And like but again, like I get it. And whenever you hear these people like talk about anime in a certain way, you want to keep them out. And I don't think that's the best course in action at all, right? Because especially because a lot of these people are just coming into anime, especially with like the stuff that happened in a couple of years in the most recent years with like, you know, we were all stuck at home for a good year. We had nothing to do and nothing to watch.
Yeah, no, I mean you're not wrong. I mean, heck, I would agree that the whole situation, the pandemic in 2020 that caused a bunch of lockdowns, you know, pushed a lot of people to try new things, right? I'm pretty sure some of that was just watching anime. I mean, obviously, Jujutsu Kaisen, if I recall correctly, came out in 2020, and
Yeah.
I would probably imagine that got a big boost from the fact that people were just at home and they wanted to watch new stuff. I mean, I'm pretty sure just yeah, it's like okay, new interesting show. Let's watch that. And now it's like one of the more bigger anime properties. I mean, obviously it's had a good run in Shonen Jump as well before that, but point being,
There's
like
also like just around the same time Demon Slayer came out, and like that boosted it.
yeah,
Well,
it came out a year in 2019. So and obviously, I'm not saying that the pandemic, you know, caused all that stuff to happen.
Yeah.
But it's certainly it was a big factor. I mean, in general, for a lot of these sort of viewing stuff, right? Like in terms of like streaming and like all this stuff. I mean, hell, you could argue the fact that a lot of movies can get to streaming a lot faster nowadays is partially because of just how they handled releasing films back during that time, and like, hey, this is actually not that bad of a way of getting these movies out in a faster process,
Which is kind of buying a lot of movies back.
Yeah, a lot of the movie theater industry is getting bitten in the butt because of that. But back to anime,
Yeah.
yeah. But I do find it interesting because I mean, when you talk about sort of the gatekeeping aspect of it, because it's sort of one of those things of like, on the one, like there are definitely certain people in communities that want to gatekeep, but for like very different reasons.
Yeah.
And we've seen this before, in like I think in any fandom, really. Like we've seen it. And I know it's a joke in like say like older media of like oh no girls allowed kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like not to say that everyone should be included, because
No, no, no.
there are some groups of individuals that will come into fandoms and try to like say that oh we've always been here, that sort of thing, right? And I'm not gonna say what or who, because it's like
If you know, you know.
if you know, right?
Mm.
Just these random dudes on the internet or whatever being like oh there can't be a woman in the character in this Warhammer thing. This is
And though there's like been women in that for ages.
yes, something like that, right? And it's like clearly these people, you know,
And I think that's because that's what got gatekeeping a bad term for a lot of people. it's that a lot of these people who are very disingenuous and like wanting to let people into their space in fandom and and such, right? Because like I see no problem if someone wants to enjoy a new medium or a new show and comes with earnest. I see no issue with that, right?
Mm.
Like I welcome it. Like I would welcome anyone. Yeah, I'm a big Gundam fan. Yes, no doubt. And I'm very happy to see people coming in, and enjoying the media that I enjoy, and like maybe finding something that I didn't see. And maybe in the past I was kind of like the opposite of what I am now, but that's also me maturing and realizing, hey, everyone has their own interpretations. You might not agree with it, but like at the end of the day, you're both enjoying something that is, that you both kind of like felt a special attachment to, right? So that's why I kind of never been a, I've never been I've been a kind of like not that big much of a fan of gatekeeping, but at the same time I get it because there's always that kind of like you said, there's always this group of people who like want to come in, whether it be for some dumb reason, you know, like I don't like it for this, that that's the one where I don't agree with. That's why I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be gatekeeping. I don't want whatever weird stuff you're bringing in into this community. I feel like it should be open to everybody.
Yeah, but it is interesting because I mean I feel like oftentimes as well too that some people confuse the term tourist with casual, right?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, and it's pretty clear what I think is for me personally what the distinction is. Like if you're a casual, like I would call myself like a Final Fantasy casual.
Yeah.
Like I like Final Fantasy. I think the only game, like the full games I've played, were 15
Mhm.
because that was new at the time, and I was like, yeah, sure, it's interesting. Let me try this out, right? I played a bit of Final Fantasy 7, the original, not any of the remake, right? Because I think it came out on the Switch,
Mhm.
and I was like, yeah, I'll play this before the new one comes out or whatever, and I haven't finished it, but at the same time, I kind of know what the game is about anyway, so I don't have a need to finish it.
Yeah.
Although it is funny when I look back at it, because I remember I took a screenshot of like Tifa calling Baird the R word,
Oh
which
yeah.
is just like that's peak '90s dialogue right there. I love this. And then I think what was the other game? What was it Final Fantasy Typo or some bullshit
Oh
like that?
yeah.
I played that game because you bought it for the demo for 15, and I was like, and you didn't play it. You're just like, I'm buying this just for the demo. I'm like,
I played a little bit. Don't make it seem like I didn't touch the game at all.
yeah.
I
Well, the main point being that I actually finished the game, or actually did a
I
full
couldn't I
playthrough
couldn't
of the
finish I
game.
couldn't finish the game because I just at some point I just kind of like, yeah, this I don't think this is for me. I'm just gonna have to.
Well, I went through it, and because I was like, if you're not good, if you paid $60 to just play this game for a bit and a demo, someone has to get the value out of it.
Yeah.
I did. It was awful. I didn't like it. It was dumb, and I was just like, what the hell did I go through?
It has its fans.
No, don't get me wrong. Yeah, it has its fans. Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, but for the most part, I would call myself a casual Final Fantasy, right?
Mhm.
Like I know all the stuff. I mean, I've seen you play 10, 13, 13 2. You know, you played more Final Fantasy than I have,
I
honestly.
played a. I didn't get a chance to finish Final Fantasy 5 because 6 was Terra, and then 7 is Cloud. I
Yeah.
want to play 6, and that one I've been waiting for. I also want to play 9, but I also played 10. I did play 10. That was my first one, and that was one of my favorite ones.
You did not play 10 2 though.
I need one day I will. I
But
don't
will you
know.
though?
I can't promise anything. I have so many other games to play.
Yeah. But point being, like, and then of course I mean, would I count Kingdom Hearts as Final Fantasy stuff? Maybe, and that's probably where I know most of the Final Fantasy characters to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
right?
But you didn't play all the Final Kingdom Hearts games.
Yeah, true that, right? Because I mean, who's gonna? I mean, what is it?
You
I
tried
played
playing the Rechain of Memories.
Rechain of Memories for the PlayStation 2, which is awful. It's just awful in terms of gameplay, not in terms of story, right?
Yeah.
But it's just sort of like, all right. So I thought I was getting like a Kingdom Hearts 2 style gameplay. Because it's like, we're on the PS2. We're not doing the Game Boy card game bit. Maybe they change it up. No, it's the same gameplay still. In a 3D environment. I don't like this. This is weird. I don't like this at all. Nomura, why? And then, of course, never played. Well, actually, no. I did try out 35, 358 over 2 days, right?
Yeah, the Roxas game.
Yeah, I tried it on an emulator for the DS once,
Mm-hmm.
and then I didn't. I was kind of bored, and I didn't want to play it again. And then eventually they just released the collections where all those side games are turned into movies. So it's like no need to play them anymore. Just watch cutscenes. That's what Nomura says. It's like no need.
All right. No, but like, and that's how I kind of like feel like, but and see, that's where I feel like when it comes to like something like an anime casual, right? You're not watching a bunch of anime. You're not fully invested in some of the aspects of it, but you do come and appreciate what you like, right? You're not coming in talking like you know stuff.
Yeah, you're not like thinking that you know everything, which I think is what a tourist kind of does sometimes. To like you said before, because they want to look cool. They want to like be part of the big moment, right? They think like, oh yeah, let me just I know what I'm talking about. Like
Yeah.
yes, like
And that's why I said like earlier that like a lot of them don't. I feel like a tourist doesn't appreciate the history, whereas a casual doesn't know the history, may not engage with it, but is perfectly fine with it. They're not coming from a point of like I know more, right?
yeah, because I was gonna say like it's more of like this is cool
Yeah.
for a casual. Like a casual is like this is cool. I'm vibing, I'm doing this and that. Like to go a little bit off topic from anime, it's like I would call myself like a Tekken casual.
Yeah.
Like I like Tekken. I played a bit of Tekken 8, a bit of Tekken 7. Like some of the older games. I won't call myself a fan of it just because at the end of the day, like I'm more into like something like Soul Calibur in terms of like 3D fighting games, right? Just like the movement and stuff. Like I can still appreciate Tekken, and seeing high competitive level play of Tekken is always cool to watch. It's like, but at the end of the day, I'll play like a bit of Tekken online.
You're not going to EVA for it.
Yeah, I'm not competing or like putting my best foot in because I know at the end of the day, it's like I'm just here to mash buttons and vibe.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of what it is. Like. I ain't someone that's gonna be like, they should buff Oscar more or something, something like that,
But
right?
see, that wasn't the casual in you talking. That was the you who wants to play Oscar better.
It's funny because I think she has gotten buff because of all these crazy Tekken patches that have been going out.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess I'm winning in the end. I didn't even ask for anything. Thanks, Harada. Although, obviously people.
Technically, you didn't ask him for shit.
I did not ask. See, this is what happens when you don't ask Harada for shit. He's like, oh, I get benefits. Awesome. I mean, and to be fair, that happens to people too. Because, you can see people online that, like, when they get into Tekken, they just go like, like, this is neat. And then they play King, and it's like, oh, I'm a wrestler, man, with a, Jaguar match that just does cool shit. I love this.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And that's, like, the beauty of being a casual, unlike, something like a tourist. Which I think, I guess going back to that original video, there's just like a lot of weird things where it's like they don't even try to like get like an accurate. Because what was the main premise of the video game? Remind me.
Okay, so the main premise was that they were watching the first episode of every popular anime from that year. So if we're doing something like Demon Slayer 2019, most popular anime that came out that year. I may be wrong. I probably am wrong because like don't really pay attention to what's the most popular thing out there. I just happen to know, oh, this one's popular.
Yeah, and also I was gonna say like where do we get that list from? Is that from like?
I tried actually looking up how the list was made.
Like I'm gonna assume it's from like one of those sites like My Anime List or something.
Yeah.
Right? Or like,
I think
is it like based on like viewership or just like I don't know?
Like what do you count as like popular of that year, right?
Yeah, because isn't it entirely possible that like a movie like say for instance like Dragon Ball Super Broly,
yeah,
would that have been considered like the most popular anime to come out of that year?
Probably not, but it is.
like yeah, but like what metrics are we just talking about
Mm.
the show like
Are we
TV shows?
Are we talking about OVAs?
Yeah, I was the next thing I was getting into like are we like OVAs would that count? What how would cuz remind me didn't the final then the Attack on Titan final season, which I mean, I'm not gonna get into how they released it because
Yeah.
boy oh boy was that a magical adventure of like the final chapters, part one, the final chapters, part two, part one, something like that.
EX. I've made the joke so many times. Like
Like
EX Alpha, like all the funny little extra, upper things they add to Street Fighter Alpha or whatever.
final mix version two.
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah, you're right. Because you could argue like maybe one of
because
that
because
was the
if I
fun.
recall correctly, that came out as just like a movie.
Yeah.
But like, is it like would that have been considered the most popular anime? Because I mean, it's Attack on Titan. It's definitely one of the bigger
Akira.
animes. I mean, yeah, that too. Like Akira the movie, right? Like, was that
And
considered?
and this is how you know is the difference between like a tourist, a casual, and maybe someone who's like us who have well, I would say more me than you. Because I would also like okay, what about like OVAs? Because that was a thing way back in the day, before a lot of people got into the anime.
Yeah, I mean, hell, JoJo's Part Three had an OVA
Yeah,
before like the actual whole
and
series
then there was
got
that Lost.
Lost Band of Blood movie,
Yeah,
which I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But like yeah, no, there's stuff like that, and so. But I think they kept it to like the first episode of. Also, it's just weird. The first episode of like a show, which is like really really strange.
Yeah, because I think, and this is how you know, I'm not that like big of a. Well, that's how you know. At least I'm not a tourist of anime, right? Of like the classic, watch 3 episodes and then make your mind about watching the rest.
Mm-hmm.
The classic technique that people have done with anime all the time because there's so much anime nowadays,
Yeah,
right? Like you would have,
especially now.
especially nowadays, so much seasonal anime that gets dropped in like it's like crazy,
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
It's hard to find like a hidden gem.
yeah, which is why people in the anime community developed the 3 episode rule because it's like you watch the first 3 episodes. Generally, you get a vibe of what the show is about, and then from there you can decide if you want to keep watching or not.
Yeah, like for me it was I'll Noah Zero. Um, it was a mech anime that came out like somewhere between 2014 and so it was somewhere in like the mid 2010s. I gave it the first 3 episode rule, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think this is for me. And just like I knew where some of the plots were going by the first 3 episodes. That whenever they did like a big reveal, I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of knew where that was coming. Honestly, I'm not vibing with it. I'm just gonna like drop on it and drop it. Maybe I'll come back to it in 10 years.
And I guess to be fair, there's the other option too. At least when it comes to me, would have been just to watch Toonami.
Yeah,
Because that was. I mean, yeah, nowadays you can watch anime wherever, right? Like you
yeah,
just find it wherever. But back in the mid 2000s,
early too.
yeah, when you weren't that well versed in the internet, Toonami was your place to get anime. They picked out the animes you would watch. Sure, there'd be some weird ones like Hamtaro,
Dice.
Dice, like
Was Dinosaur King on there?
I think Dinosaur King was on there for
Yeah.
a little bit.
It's either that or like whatever Saturday morning cartoon block was on like national television.
Or 4 Kids.
Yeah,
Yeah, the 4 Kids One Piece stuff never gets old.
never gets old.
Go,
No,
go.
no, but like that's kind of like also the thing, right? Like the 1 episode rule is really weird, and just like the vibe they gave out was very like TikTok esque.
Which I mean, listen, I'm not gonna fault them for that. This is the world we live in, right?
Yeah.
TikTok being sort of a big thing nowadays, right?
Mm.
So like, yeah, of course they're making their content in the style of a TikTok. That way they can post
Yeah.
it on TikTok and have a bunch of views on it, right?
Mhm.
This isn't new to me anyway.
No, no, no. And like, if for some, and this is where the terrorism comes out because they're giving out like really strange takes and like feeling like they didn't really pay attention to the show or because with some animes, especially if you kind of have to pay attention because oftentimes a lot of things are said that like will either come back or not, you know. Yeah, so like that's kind of like the weird thing about like it. They just have really bad takes and stuff that that a lot of people are like, well, you can't judge a show by the first episode. It's not a pilot, like how some shows would be.
Yeah, a lot of American shows have like a pilot that sort of sets the tone for what the show is gonna be, and then develop the rest of the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Again, yeah, like you said, like it doesn't really happen with anime generally because on the one hand, a fair amount of anime is based off of mangas anyway, so like it's very clear that they're setting up a story there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it's we're building up to something
Mm-hmm.
already, right?
As well as like having certain bias towards more modern ones. I remember and this is what I told you about, and you were looking at me like, "Are you serious?" Was when they were talking about Black Clover, which I don't remember what year it came out.
I want to say it came out like sometime in 2018. It
Yeah,
felt like late 2010s to me.
yeah,
So
and it wasn't popular when it came out. I'm pretty sure it wasn't because the thing everyone was talking about was Asta's voice in Japanese.
yeah. I mean, granted, the plot of Black Clover, I think, because when I watched it, uh, not when it first came out, but when I started watching it, I was like, okay, this is just Naruto but with wizards instead of ninjas, because that's kind of what it was, right?
Yeah,
We had Asta, who is basically your Naruto character,
yeah,
headstrong, a little dumb, but earnest,
yeah.
wanting to be
He's
the Wizard King. God damn it!
he's got a lot of heart in this one.
Yeah, and his main
He's got
rival,
gumption.
yeah, his main rival is is tall, silent, black-haired dude who all the girls fawn over. Gee, I wonder who that is,
Yeah.
right? Um, but you know what? Eventually, it does sort of branch out into its own thing, and like around like the Midnight Sun's showing up, and I'm like, okay, okay, all right, you doing your own thing. I'm clapping for you. I'm rooting for you, Black Clover, and then it starts to get peak, and I'm like, all right, this is what I'm talking about. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is and funny enough too, because in my brain I kind of just go with like you were saying earlier about like watching the older anime sort of gives you sort of the foundations of what a lot of newer animes
Mm-hmm.
is, and that's sort of a clear example. Hell, when you really think about it, the whole shonen genre, I mean, has
I mean,
essentially got the DNA of Dragon Ball in it.
and you have to remember there was shows before Dragon Ball that Dragon Ball was getting from it.
Yeah, and I feel like it's funny because obviously, I think to be fair, Dragon Ball is still around to this day. It was probably why
Yeah.
nobody ever thinks about it that way. But like just seriously think about like how like when Goku goes Super Saiyan, right? Any shonen has that moment where the character gets like that new form and it's supposed to be big, right? Like when Naruto unlocks some shit with the Nine Tails, or
When Luffy gets gear.
when Ichigo unleashes his fucking Bankai and all that stuff. Like it all has the DNA of a Super Saiyan transformation.
Yeah.
Even now, right? Like when Deku fucking starts to get used to his all for one, right?
Yeah. It's still the same thing, but it's just told differently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they all have the DNA in
Mm-hmm.
there, man. Like and that's sort of
And then
like
that's not a negative. That's more of like you appreciating the medium. Like you can, like I said, when I'm watching like old school mech anime, I'm seeing a lot of the stuff that like influenced the other and where they got this from. Like Shinji is this. I'm using even Evangelion because that's like one of the more I guess modern ones.
I would say more mainstream mecha.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, where like, hey, Shinji's a character who has issues with his father and has a hard time being in combat and has to deal with a lot of like internal struggles. That is very much Amuro from the first Gundam.
Yeah, which is always funny to me because I mean that's always the main like big thing about Ava, right? It's like oh, it's a deconstruction of the mech genre. It does all these things
The
that
common like
it
touristy comment about like about Ava as a mecha, and like if you talk to any other mecha fans, like, I mean, sure,
he's like yes but no,
yeah,
which is well you brought up. It's like Shinji's character is basically just like Amuro's character,
mm-hmm.
like from Gundam, which is a pillar of the mech genre.
Yeah, and like you can argue like it's no, but it's told different. Like, well, yeah, it's the same idea. It's just explored differently.
Yes.
Because like Shinji has a lot more issues in that one in Ava than Amuro has in Gundam, but that's kind of like the point. If we were to focus more on it, this is how it would turn out.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, but and like that's kind of the thing about a lot of these guys. They're disingenuous with the older stuff. That they look at the newer stuff much more with rose-colored glasses, and the decision on is so clear that hey, they clearly like Black Clover, and they gave the first episode a very high ranking, and I'm just like, okay, I like Black Clover. You like Black Clover. That first episode was not good.
Yeah, no, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. Like, yes, the show is good now, but like the first episode, if you're ranking it, if you were
Solely on it by itself.
by itself, not knowing the rest of it, you're kind of just like, this is kind of mid. Like, I would have probably given it maybe a 6, 7 if I'm being generous,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, it's
A little
okay.
lower if it was in Japanese.
Yes, if you're thinking
Because
of the
you
voice.
were exposed to it by the dub.
Yeah, I watched the dub, which is, I'm guessing someone's gonna call me a tourist for saying that, right? Even though like whatever, go to hell. The tale of sub versus dub
Will never die.
a tale as old as time, But hey, listen. If anything, that's a benefit of the dub. You don't have to worry about hearing the initial Asta's
Yeah, because
crappy voice.
when he starts to die down, that's when you go to the sub. But no, yeah, but that's again like you can tell like they come from a very more modern sensibility. Especially when they talk when they essentially I guess in their words glaze up some of the more modern stuff. It's like okay, I see where you guys started,
Mm-hmm.
and I can see where your biases are showing. If you like it, that's fine. No judgment. I tried at least, right?
Right.
It's like me trying to get into Fire Emblem for you. Like I just happened to choose the wrong game or the right game, but I just couldn't get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Who is the selfish, dude? Joey, who is the selfish?
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna get into it.
Yeah.
This isn't the episode to
No.
get into Fire Emblem lore, but a new game coming out. That's very interesting.
Yeah. The discourse continues.
It's like the classic meme of no matter what path you choose, it still ends in more three houses discourse.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's no stops on this ride. But anyways, getting back to the anime, right? Yeah, I definitely would agree to that, and I think that's part of the reason. I mean, you even mentioned before how they watched the first episode of Inuyasha, which I would say is a pretty solid like classic anime nowadays.
Mm.
Like to the point where it got its sequel series, what was it called again?
I don't recall, but to your point, yes.
Yeah,
For whatever reason, this is the one that got you because you were like, sure, anime guys have bad takes. Just another Tuesday for you.
Yeah.
But when I told you like, yeah, apparently they watched it in Spanish, and you're like, how?
Yeah, because you explained to me that they couldn't find an English version of the first episode,
or I think it maybe like just the original Japanese.
or anything, and I'm like, okay, and then they just the only thing they could find was the Spanish version, and that's what they based and they couldn't understand it, and that's what they based their fucking, review on. But I'm like, are you shitting me? Because I can literally look up the first episode.
He's doing it right now.
I have it on my phone right now. I would show it to you, but I don't know. Does that count as copyright?
Probably. This is not, unless it's not.
Listen, I won't get into it. The main point being, I can look up the first fucking episode of Inuyasha on Netflix right now. Unless
Hulu.
these guys are not on, or Hulu, unless you guys are not in the U.S. Like, how do you not get that? I mean, you
Crunchyroll.
I swear to God, it's definitely on Crunchyroll. And even if you can't get it on your legal ways of watching it, I don't know, man. Like, there has to be a Kiss anime equivalent out there somewhere you can watch the
That's
first.
a name I haven't heard in a long time.
That's how That's how long it's been since I've watched torrented anime or the pirated anime. Which definitely makes me not a tourist, by the way.
No, you have to look for it.
Yeah. That's how you know that these people didn't do enough research. It's like Inuyasha has been around for so long. Dude, they do reruns of Inuyasha. I remember watching reruns of Inuyasha off of Tanami. If I woke up early enough and on
that's the
Cartoon
joke.
Network
You would hear the ending song
to Inuyasha before Cartoon Network starts up.
Yeah, you would hear it before you go to school.
Yeah, you know, it's just like
the shot of Shishomaru looking at his dad.
Naraku, Wind Scar. You know,
that's all you would hear. That's what would wake you up.
Yeah, pretty much. But the fact that's their excuse, like they couldn't find, like, come on,
it's again like this is what makes them come off as tourists. Like, that's not a genuine way to find or like watch something, right? And even then, it's just the very like I only see this as a way to make a certain way. And like I don't know these guys. I don't know them. They're probably nice guys. They're just like, doing it for the content, and that's where, sure, you got to make bread. Like, no harm to you. I get it. But like, know that what you're doing is also like, hey, like there's people who care about this stuff. Right? Like, this is like, this means something to them. And like, don't ever come from a place of disingenuous, because you will be called what you are, which is a tourist. Like, if you know you're not gonna like it, be like, okay, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna like that. Just not me. I'm not gonna watch something that's from the 1940s or whatever.
Yeah, I would. And to go with the anime stuff, it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna watch friggin'. Well, no, I probably would attempt to watch something like High School of the Dead, just because it seems very funny to me.
Yeah.
Although I guess some people would be like, yeah, but the fucking crazy fansters, like, yeah, but that's the fun of it sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's just.
Although it's at the same time, it's like, I think yeah, there's certain animes out there that I probably wouldn't myself, watch. Like, I don't know, would I watch the the new Sailor Moon, like
Crystal?
Crystal or whatever? Probably not. I mean, Sailor Moon's alright, but I'm not gonna watch the Crystal. And besides, I think most people say it's kind of meh to begin with, so
Yeah.
So there's lots of things like that, where it's like, people talk about it. I mean, hell, I think I mentioned before, Jujutsu Kaisen. I don't know, I'm not that interested in it. Maybe I'll give it a shot just because, a lot of people say it's good. Yeah, I'll give it a shot maybe one of these days. See if I like it. If not, then I'll just drop it. But then again, God, I remember forcing myself to finish. What was it? Agami Got Kill.
You hated that show.
I see. Here's the funny thing. You say that, but like, I think at the end of the day, I came out of it as like, this is the most mediocre anime I've ever seen in my life. Which is not hatred, because mediocre is not like, this is terrible. This is like mid to the middest of mids, know? That's how I felt at the time. And it was so funny to me because, again, this was on Toonami, right?
Yeah.
And at a certain point, I kind of stopped caring about it. But there's a part of me that's like, no, I'm not going to let this...
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to let this anime be the one to be like, no, I got to finish this.
It's not like Tenchimuyo Jigsby.
Listen, that was the thing, too, right? Like, I had watched that show from start to finish. It was ass all the way through, Like, not because you had hot characters or was a harem show or whatever. It wasn't that type of ass. It would have been great if it was that type of ass, but it wasn't. The one good character was the pervy robot dude, and he gets screwed at the end.
And not because he's a pervy robot.
No, because he's like, he meets another robot. It's like, you know what? I guess I'll settle down with you. It's like, you ruined him. You ruined this man by tying him down. You bastards. And also, listen, I'm not gonna get into it that much.
No.
All I gotta say is that, if I could, in my brain, I'm like, if I sat through that shit, I can sit through Agame Ga Kill. All right.
Yeah.
I can do this.
Yeah.
And then by the end, I'm like, yeah, that was a mid show. That was definitely mediocre. Never watching that again.
Yeah.
And listen, I know some people were like, well, Agame Ga Kill's good, or like, oh, the manga's better. It's like, listen, I don't care.
It's like,
I'm done.
I'm done.
Hey, listen, man. Sure, whatever, cool. What's her name? The crazy. ice lady with the blue hair. Uh,
Esteth, I think.
yeah, Esdef. Yeah, she's hot. Listen, don't get me wrong. 10 out
Yeah.
of 10 hot baddie, all right?
Yeah.
But, I'm not watching the show because of her.
No.
All right? I'll just like whatever fan art comes my way, and that's it, all right?
Yeah.
I'll just completely forget about everything else.
Yeah.
But, that's...
I mean, it's also weird because like I feel like with anime, there's so many like different genres.
That too, yeah. There's so... Like, anime is a medium, right?
Yeah.
In the same way
It
of
is
film.
animation.
Yeah. So there's so many things and interesting animes that you can get into. Ooh, that it is sort of
Whether it be slice of life, mecha, shonen, shoujo.
yeah, it's just crazy how wide the spectrum of anime is, right? I mean, but it is just kind of at the same time to be like trying to like encapsulate all of anime into just like trying to watch like one episode of like the most popular anime. It's a noble endeavor, but sometimes you're kind of just like what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, especially with some of the stuff they were doing. But I don't know. Either way, when it comes to being a casual, being a tourist, as long as I'm always cool with like if you want to learn to get into it, that's fine. Like that's with every fandom, right?
Mhm.
Like or just of any community, right? Like okay, cool. Like yeah, I like to mash buttons and like Tekken or whatever. But like at the same time, there's other like say fighting games that I'm more into that I actually try to do my best to actually learn how to get good, or at least learn how to play the game and like
Yeah.
actually have fun with it online and stuff.
Mhm.
Besides just like, oh, I'm just gonna mash,
Yeah.
which is also fun, but at the same time, like there are different levels of like what your interaction with the fandom should be, and that you should be fine with it, but don't try to like claim you're the arbiter of knowledge, because then that makes you look like a tourist at the end of the day.
Without actually backing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I like myself some romance. I like myself some slice of life. I also like some shonen. Clearly, I'm more of a mecha person, but you know, oftentimes there's a intersection between each of the each of the genres, I guess.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it's still essentially anime.
Yeah,
That's
but
what it is.
yeah, I guess at the end of the day, I guess when it comes down to it, right? Like, yeah, like these guys definitely might have been a bit too.
Like again, we're not talking about the drama itself, but we're talking more about the idea of like tourism and stuff like that.
Yeah, just yeah, tourists are going to be a thing. I think for a lot of communities.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, the best way to deal with it isn't necessarily the gatekeep,
No.
but it's more sort of like instead of having them be a tourist, bring them in.
Yeah.
Show them the way, right?
Mhm.
Like, do you know the way? Right?
That's an old meme.
It's an old meme, but it checks out.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good pipeline of at least turning these guys or these tourists into like casuals that can enjoy the medium, and then further down the line, actually be fully integrated with the community. You know, and
because if someone would say, like, I get it a lot, like with people who ask me about mecha, like, how do you get into it? It's like, it's like, I don't feel like it's like a lot of fighting. Like, well, it's not just about the fighting though; it's about the characters. The idea of the robots are just there as part of like the setting,
the world building.
Yeah, that's just what it is. Because like like I said, Shinji has a lot of emotional issues, a lot of trauma, and so does a lot of other characters in mecha. Or sometimes they don't, or sometimes they deal with trauma going through it, or whatever issue. And sometimes they're over the top and fun, and sometimes they're grounded and realistic. Just kind of depends on where the story goes. The robots are there just for world building, like you said. It's just depending on how willing you're accepting of it. Like if you're willing to accept like crazy ninjutsu, crazy magic systems, then why is like a giant robot less less engaging?
Right.
And I don't blame people for being like, well, because like this, yeah, I don't blame you, because like that's like there's something different about it, right? It's like okay, I can't really explain it today, but yeah, no, that's about as all I feel like I can say right now. You?
Yeah, I think I mean I think what I said probably finishes wraps up pretty
Yeah,
well.
pretty
At
much.
least my thoughts on
Yeah, no, I agree.
the whole concept of
Yeah,
sort of
don't like if you're gonna gatekeep, at least gatekeep the ones that are making it difficult for people to be engageful to the medium itself.
yeah, like there's clearly like bad actors that
Mhm.
try to like usurp the narrative and try to fit it into their own weird agenda, and that those are the people we should gatekeep.
Mhm.
You know, um, but
Let the girls in, guys. It's okay.
yeah. So yeah, I think that's sort of a good place to end it.
Yeah.
Right? This has definitely been one of the longer episodes. Honestly, I didn't think it would be this long.
I didn't think so either, but I feel like I think I can tell you where to trim it down.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry about that. But if you guys enjoyed what you heard, be sure to follow us on all social medias: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at the Geek Centurions. I'm most active on Instagram, where you can find a link to all podcast sites. We're officially part of like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, and all the like. And a link to our YouTube, where you can put a face to the voice. Be sure to like and subscribe on there, and a form of Patreon for more support. And yeah, it's been me, boy Eli,
Me, Joe.
and just enjoy anime, guys. It's there for us to have fun and enjoy. Anyways, you guys have a good one. It's me, boy Eli.